Hi and welcome to this video in the MRDCL Understanding Concept series. In this video we're going to look at doing counts on variables or counts on columns and looking at the functionality you have available. You'll find the files from this video in the folder DAT108. So we've got some very simple data here to work through in this short video. The data begins here with a serial number, and then in this field, in the fifth field, we have a 1 or a 2. I'm not sure what it denotes, but let's just accept it's a 1 or a 2. You'll see the third record has got a blank there, hasn't answered it. And then this block of fields here, or columns here, responses to a multiple response question where the first answer, if there's a 1 there, it means it's true. So this one here's got the first answer, not the second, but got the third and fourth, and so on. And we come down to the fourth record that hasn't got any answers at all for that particular question. So let's look at our script and see what we've got there. And the first thing I want to check is, this is reporting an error. I want to check that everybody has got an answer in that fifth field where they should have a 1 or a 2. And you can see I've got a card characters binary statement there. I use card characters binary because some of the options I'm using here don't work if you just got card characters, because by definition they can't ever be multiple coded, and binary data allows multi-coding. And if you put in card characters binary, it just opens up some other options that are available. Even though your data has no binary data, it's all single punched ASCII data. So the first check I've got, I'm saying that if the count, and this looks a little bit different perhaps from most other syntax that you encounter in MRDCL, I'm saying if the count on column 5 between codes 1 to 2 is not 1, and I could have abbreviated that as 1, 2, that would have worked, and indeed you can have a string of codes here like that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but dot dot does the same thing, so I tend to use the same thing. If I wanted that to roll over into the next column, I could pick up 1 to 2 from 6 as well, so it would check that whole expression, 5 codes 1 to 2 and 6 1 to 2 only had one answer, but I just want to check 5 in this particular case. And I'm just checking that if the count is not a 1, in other words, if they're blank or they've got more than one answer, well, with ASCII data that's impossible, but if they're blank, I want to list IOBS, which is the serial number, and I want to put a message out saying count not 1, and I'm just going to confirm that that field is blank, so it'll put out 5 is blank. The next example is where I'm defining a variable, so I'm going to define a variable here, and it's picking it up as a multi. So it's putting it up as a multi so that it can just do some checks on it. But if I wanted to, I could have said if var is not count 1, list $5. That would have worked fine. So I can list it that way as well. So I can list a variable being not count 1. I've got the reverse here, another check. I'm saying this time, rather than using the count statement as I did here, I'm just using the not count or the count function. So I'm saying here, if the count is 1, list single code in 5. So it'll put a message out saying that it's got a single code with the text single code if they've just got one answer, as indeed 3 of the records are. If you want to do a count on a variable, you can do that. So I've defined a new var here, which picks up the answers in var, which is that 1 and 2, and outputs count 0 to 2. That's the same as saying count 1, count 0, count 1, count 2. It's just a shorthand way of saying it, just as you can pick up codes 1 to 5, 1-5 as 5 separate codes. Count 0-2 means I want count 0, count 1, count 2. So indeed here now I've got blank, 1 answer, 2 answers, and I think we'll find that 1 record is blank, 3 have 1 answer, and no records have 2 answers. And we've got a similar option here. We're picking up that multi in 6 to 15, you may remember, which was those series of 1s and blanks. So we have picked up multi. We've got a variable that counts the number of codes. So we've got a variable called count multi, which picks up the number of codes in that variable multi, and we're picking up count 0, count 1, count 2.4, so the same syntax as when you're picking up codes, count 5.10, so anybody with 5 or more. And when we come to do some tables, we can see we've got new var here, which is going to tabulate people who have got 0, 1 and 2 counts. And then we've got the same table, effectively almost the same table, which picks up from 6 to 15 this time, whether they got a count of 0, a count of 1, 2 to 4, 5 to 9. So let's just run that and shut our data. And let's look at the report that we produced first. So sure enough, 3 records come out with the message single code in 5, and the code is 1, 2 and 1. This record here is outputting the fact that it's blank with the 2 different checks we've done, one checking on the variable and one checking the actual columns with a different type of check. So it's twice coming out twice with the same list message. And let's go to the tables now. And sure enough, here's our table. So for the first variable, we get 1 that's blank and 3 that have 1 answer. And then we move to the second field in 6 to 15, where there were 1s and 0s. 1 record was blank, that was respondent number 4, as I recall. 1 had 1 answer, nobody had 2 to 4 answers, and the rest had 5 or more answers, which we can just check back to the data. And we look at the data now, and we can see there are indeed 2 records that have got 5 or more answers. This one here has 7 answers, and this one here I think has also got 7 answers. So that looks as though it's all working absolutely fine. So that's some things you can do with the count and the count command and the count function in MRDCL. I hope that was very useful to you. Thank you.